How's it going out there? So I'm just here for another video, just doing my thing. You know what I've been thinking about? How convincing, how we listen to people that just sound good online. You know what I mean? Like you could just sound intelligent online and everybody will believe you. Isn't that fascinating? They'll even take your advice over the most sophisticated people in the world. It's like, how who believes these scientists? What school these scientists go to? And meanwhile, y'all never went to school. It's like believing somebody that tells you about space when they've never been there. It's like, okay, cool, man. Or they didn't spend 30 years in a lab just researching stuff about space. They just thought of an idea that would make sense to them, so they shared it. And they're like, now I'm an expert on this subject, man. But also, I understand. I understand why people, dude. When you're a snake oil salesman, isn't that the expression? Dude, you get people to believe you. You convince the blind leading the blind. You convince those that want to be convinced of somebody, especially when you're in that community and you believe that person is just throwing out some non facts that they didn't research or they did and they just came up. You watch seven YouTube videos about something. I'm pretty sure at this moment in life you're an expert. I'm just saying. I think it's quite easy in our world today to become an expert in certain subjects. Like me, for example. I've been watching meth documentaries. I love some meth documentaries. I love meth documentaries just just because they're dope. But it's particularly ones about like addiction and obesity, just stuff that do along those lines. But if you got a good documentary, I'll definitely like the Epstein documentary and all that. I'm interested in it. And then it's just documentaries can really construct how you think about things. You know what I'm saying? Do you get where I'm going? That is the introduction to this podcast. You know what I mean? This is gonna be a fire 20 minutes. I hope. Speaking of fire, is that loud enough? Is that loud enough? How loud is that? I don't know. I got my Fitbit on. Let me rub it. Oh, if you're listening to this in audio, how are you doing? Plus, if you're watching this video, don't forget that you can search this on Spotify and Apple iTunes, all of them basically, but who uses the rest of them? Everybody uses Spotify and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find it on there under Too Far Gone. Well, that's the other podcast. This is not Too Far Gone. This is TP's Takeover. Jeez. But you can find both of these. If you don't want to sit here and watch, I understand. Because that's the concept of found time. You listen to something as you do something else. It's like, that's why I kind of took the idea of listening to music out of my life. Like, I still listen to music when I work out and stuff. But when I'm like cleaning my apartment or something, I listen to podcasts or books on like audio books and stuff like that because it's the concept of found time, right? But I've said all that to say that if you don't want to watch this bullshit, you can listen to it on Apple iTunes or Spotify or Anchor, any of them. But you only use Spotify or Apple. That's the whole concept of what I'm trying to say. And just search TP's Takeover, and also you can find Too Far Gone on there too. And I found out it's quite hard to find these channels, especially since like nobody's really subscribed to them. So like you're kind of like we're below, like, you know how like in the animal kingdom you got your tigers and lions up there at the top and all that, and we're like at the bottom, like we're underneath insects. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna put a link to all that in my Instagram and on both YouTube pages. I'm gonna put the other YouTube pages. Back to what I was saying about meth documentaries, right? Or documentaries in general. They're fascinating, right? And if you watch so many documentaries, you think you become knowledgeable in those subjects, right? Because I have a lot of information stored in my brain about subjects I should not be talking about, but I'm not very confident spitting those facts. And I will say also that, like the documentaries when they're talking about, like I watched one the other night called Oceana. It's about a town in West Virginia called Oceana. And like, you know how it's like, I'm from Kentucky and we have this place called Muhlenberg. Everybody calls it Methenberg, right? That's what I'm saying. That's where I'm going with that. And I was so fascinated in this. And you know what's fascinating is that the people they don't try to convince you that being addicted to Oxycontin and all those drugs and meth in general, every drug, they don't try and convince you. They tell you to stay away from it. I will say that's the cool thing about, I've noticed the common thing before among people who are addicted to drugs is they all say the shit's not good for you. It's not good. I've lost my wife, my dog, my house. Now I'm 35, living on the streets of LA and whatnot. And I really respect the fact that addiction, people who are addicted to stuff, be like, hey, fuckhead, don't do this. But also at the same time, in that same documentary, they talk about how good it is. And it's like, I want to give it a shot. No pun intended. Like shooting up meth. Don't do it, okay? I'm not saying that I've done it or will ever do it. I'm not going to, okay? I'm scared of addiction as is. I was like, that's why when I got my wisdom teeth cut out, right? I was like, I took one pill, felt way too good. I was like, I took like I think a lower tab, and they got different types of numbers for different types. I don't care. I don't want to know. And that's what I took, one lower tab, and I gave them away. Well, I don't even remember what I did. I might have put them in a cabinet and just let them sit there for the rest of eternity. I don't know. But the way they speak about how good how good these drugs are and how you get hooked and all this, and then the worst part, I think the worst part about being addicted to like Oxycontin or meth, methadone, all that stuff is that it's not that you get addicted to it. It's that it's hard to get off of it. It's like you'd rather be addicted to it because it keeps you going. Like this one guy, he sounded like Boomhauer from King of the Hill. He was talking about how he was addicted to Oxycontin, and he had to take it every day or he would be pissed off. And he said he tried quitting for 2 or 3 days and he flew off the handle. He was, his wife said he was being an asshole and all this. And then he got $40, went down the street and just did some drugs. I'm like, holy shit. Oh, also I'll put a link into the description to the documentary I watched about Oceana. It's very fascinating if you're fascinated by stuff like that. But I'm just like, oh my, that is just crazy. And they're all good. And it's kind of like when you watch like documentaries, like, cause that's the thing about America is that if you're poor and white, especially like you're in a small place in West Virginia, it's more of a joke to America. Like if you talk about the inner city of gangs shooting each other and all that, people are like, let's fix this, let's fix that. But when it comes to like small town white people that are addicted to meth, nobody cares. It's kind of like how I'm at that age now. I'm a normal dude, right? I'm above the age of, if I died, like a select few people would care, right? Or if I died in a terrible way, like if a kid was riding his bicycle down the street, the road fell through and he just disappeared and died, they'd be like, fuck, that sucks, man. But if you see that story, 28-year-old man riding his bicycle down the road, the concrete fell beneath his legs, beneath his feet, and he's gone, never to see again. He's dead, obviously. Dude, you know how many people would pick up that story and how many people would laugh at the way I died? But if it was an old woman or a woman in general, just imagine a woman carrying her baby in a little, those backpack strollers for kids that they put on bicycles. They fall through some concrete and never to be seen again. Oh, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. And it's bad either way, but it's the double standards. And that's what I'm saying about these small town white people addicted to Oxycontin, and then it's all a joke. It's a joke to the world. And there's some funniness in it, I will say. It's like, well, damn, dude. It's like they're interviewing this guy. He's like, yeah, Dave down the road, he sells Oxycontin to everybody in town. He's awesome. Then you got 18 to 22-year-old girls talking about, I've done some nasty things for Oxycontin. Like, oh my God, people are out here living. I'm just a normal half black guy that looks fully white, and I'm just normally running around here just doing my thing. And they're sitting in the middle of a mountain in West Virginia, addicted to Oxycontin. And then also, dude, it's just a very fascinating documentary. And I'm very fascinated. It's like I want to be addicted to drugs, right? I'm not saying it's good for me, but I would say, I said a couple weeks ago, I don't want to do coke, but I feel like if you were a cokehead, you're having a hell of a time. And I don't endorse doing coke. I have to preface that. I'm not saying get out there and do some coke and get addicted to drugs and fuck your whole life up. I'm not saying that, but in the present day time, I feel like that's what I should do now, is just kind of, kind of leer out, kind of shell out, kind of roll out, do some hard drugs. This would be the time in the world, in the universe. I've been alive for 28 years, and there's no better time to feed some drugs that I haven't stumbled upon yet. Do some microdosing, right? Microdosing's never hurt anybody, right? Oh, that's all a joke, by the way. Don't get addicted to anything. I don't endorse it at all. Because, I have addiction to Reese's, which because I saw a statistic one time that said that being addicted to sugar is 7 times harder to get off of than being addicted to Coke. But we have that, you think about a Coke head, and you're like, you think about someone who's addicted to sugar and sugary foods and all that, and you're like, is there really, like, the Coke head's obviously worse, right? That's what we do. Well, that's what we do. That's what we say. And which one is worse? Which one do you think would be worse? Because sugar's a hell of a thing. Dude, I remember when I first started losing weight, and dude, trying to get rid of sweet, because this is what we're blind. The media, everybody tells you what to eat and drink, what's so-called healthy, and they're like, and then you take it upon yourself, like, okay, I'm gonna stop drinking pops. And then you switch over to sweet tea. This is what I did, but I switched over to sweet tea. I'm like, wait, this doesn't really make sense, because I'm just put 4 cups of sugar in this sweet tea, and now I'm stirring this sweet tea full of sugar, right? This is not healthy. And let me tell you, your boy, I was probably averaging a half gallon of sweet tea a day. Now I drink a sweet tea every once in a while. I dabble, and I stay away from sweet tea most of the time. But sometimes you go to a restaurant, they fuck up, they give you the wrong one. You're like, okay, it's cool, I'll just drink it. Then you end up drinking 5 of them. Like, damn. And that's what I've noticed about when I'm trying to be healthy. I can really feel, like when I run, I can feel that sugar. Is it processed by the pancreas? How does that work? What processes the sugar? Because whatever processes the sugar, because that has to do with your insulin spike and all that. Hey, I'm not a doctor. I've watched 7 YouTube videos, okay? I watched 7 YouTube videos. And I feel like I'm an expert at the subject now. And just like I've watched 7 documentaries about meth addiction, Oxycontin, and heroin, watch them all. I'm a freaking pro, bro. That's what you could call. I'm a pro, bro. I'm a pro in addiction, right? And like I watched this, and I watched another documentary about meth. Okay, so meth is known as a southern drug, right? It's like a small town. You hear a meth head, you think of a white dude in a beater trying to return something to Walmart to get the money, or steal something from Walmart, then return it, and then try to get that money. And so what they'll have to do is, if you're a meth head, right, you show up to Walmart in a beater, you steal something of value. You steal something relatively, I would say, small that you could fit in a pocket or something that's expensive. Then you go sell it, right? Or if you can't sell it to a pawn shop or something, or somebody wants to buy a buddy, Gerald down the street, needs some new undies, you sell them $30 worth of underwear, and then you got your $30 right there. But if that doesn't work, you try and take it back to Walmart, be like, hey, I don't have my ID. Can I just get store credit? Then you take the store credit, they give you store credit, take that to a pawn shop, they sell it for 50% less than the value that Walmart gave it to you. So right there, so the pawn shop's making money right there, because they're buying the gift card at 50% of its value. They're going to sell it back to somebody at the same value that they bought it for, or the same value that the meth head got the money from Walmart. You know what I mean? Like if it's $50, the pawn shop's gonna buy it for $25. Turn around, flip that, sell it for $50 to a customer, $25 profit right there. It's genius. It's genius. Let me tell you, it is genius how that works. And I only know the process because I was a cashier at Lowe's for 3 years. I didn't go into Walmart and do all that. I just know, like, it's the process. You could see it happening when you're at Walmart. When I was a cashier at Walmart and I worked the return desk, I was real nervous at first because I was returning everything. I was like, I wasn't checking it. Then I got so good. Somebody walk in, but you get good. When you work the return desk, you get really good at judging people. That's how it works. Because we want to live in this world where you don't judge people by how they look and how they act and how they smell and all this stuff. But it's hard not to sometimes. Like, you know what I mean? If somebody walks into a bank with a full ski, and I got to say a full ski mask now, because if I just say mask, you're thinking they're just saving the world, right? Isn't that crazy how we went back to, if you wear a mask in a bank now, you're saving the world? How ironic is that? But you got to prejudge some people that walk in, they done walked into the entrance door, knocked it off the little thing. Then somebody's got to fix the sliding door because this customer just walked into it. They got a DeWalt drill. You hope the drill's in there for one. You hope they didn't steal it before and they're returning it back to get store credit. Because if you're a cashier at Lowe's or Walmart, anywhere like that, if somebody walks up and says, "Hey, buddy, I don't have my ID. I just want store credit." Immediately, that's the first thing they say. Oh, be suspicious. Be suspicious, my boy. Okay? And some people are just like, like you picture a really nice guy just walking in. He's like, "Hey, what's good?" They give you this story. Man, my wife came in here and bought the wrong drill, and now I have to return it. She lost the receipt on the way home. I don't have it. All I have is my ID. I just want to exchange it for another one. That's a real simplistic process, and then they just get the other one. When they say they just want store credit, they don't want anything else. They don't want a different value or something of the same value, just a different make or model or whatever. Sorry. I had a Gatorade before this. But what I'm going to say is that I'm really fascinated in documentaries that talk about addiction. It's the whole process. Like I don't want to be addicted to anything, but I'm fascinated by it. And not in a good way. Not fascinated like, oh, we go out there and get addicted to meth. It's just the whole process of start to finish, to hopefully from start to finish. You know what I mean? You want them, because there's some people in there that's like, I'm 76, I've been addicted to meth for 35 years, I've sucked 72 dicks. It's like, damn, dude. Like, Ronnie, get it together, man. And also, we have different core values. Meth might be in their core value. Also, if you're at home doing drugs, you're not fucking with anybody, you're not messing with kids, you're not doing any of this, hey, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend just sitting at home and doing meth, but if you're not intentionally hurting other humans, hey, do your damn thing. Like, I saw one story that blew my mind in this documentary, Oceana, that the link is in the description. If you're listening to this in audio, hit my YouTube and you'll find the link in the description. It's probably I think it was an hour long. And let me tell you, this documentary was well put together. I mean, it was beautiful. I don't even know. It was so good. I don't know if somebody stripped it and put it on YouTube. Like, it looks like it was on TV at one time. But whoever developed and filmed and edited all this, it was amazing. But this one guy was addicted to Oxycontin. He's doing Oxycontin. Or I guess, should I just shorten it and say Oxy? Or can you only say Oxy if you're doing it? I don't know. He's doing oxys, right? And not oxymorons. But he's doing that in his crib. His wife's like, "Hey, you got to stop doing this shit, right?" And he just found out he had brain cancer, I believe, some type of cancer with his head, something along the lines. Something that they gave him 6 months to live twice. What that means is he outlived, hey, you got 6 months. So he's living on borrowed time now. He's playing with house money. Right? Because if you get more time than they told you, you're playing with house money at that point. And he's shooting up and all this. And then his wife was like, "You know what? If you're going to do it," she gets so mad. Because you know how you get mad at somebody. You're like, if you're going to fucking do it, I'm going to do it too. And she did it. Now they're both in this small little trailer in West Virginia addicted to Oxycontin. It's like, damn. And he's like, he can't speak very well. Like, he's definitely on the decline. And it's just sad. It was sad. It really broke my heart. It's like, damn, it's out there and it's real. Oh, and that's what it. Just don't get addicted to anything. Just don't. That's why I don't even start. It's like, why start, man? I have enough trouble with sugar. Could you imagine me on coke or meth or any of that? Like, that's why, like, when you talk to people and they make fun of you about like not knowing how much coke is sold for, how much weed is, even just weed, and I don't have anything wrong. I'll dabble in some marijuana, you know what I'm saying? I don't have anything, but I don't care. I don't care when they're saying, like, we're watching this documentary and they're like, "Oh, you don't flip it like that, or you don't heat it up that long." It's like, wait, hold on. Wait, I don't give a fuck what spoon brand they're using to heat their coke or meth or whatever they're using. Their heroin, any of it. But it's definitely, that whole process is fascinating. And then I go back to say, I forgot to preference or to say at the beginning of the episode, I was talking about, what was I talking about? Oh, how we listen. We listen to people who are convincing online, like people who just go online and say, "Hey, don't wear a mask." Like, what do you know? What do you know? Listen, I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want to wear a mask. I will say that. But when people like when doctors go online and say, "Hey, make sure you wear a mask," and then you just have this random dude in his fucking Ford truck saying, "Hey, don't wear a mask. It's just a government hidden thing. Like you don't have to wear a mask." And it's like I get what he's saying. He's saying I'm protecting my rights and all this. But hey, when somebody of importance of like a doctor or a scientist of any of that, when they're saying shit, it's like, maybe they could be lying to save the government's ass here, but I might want to listen. And then I go out in the world and people still aren't wearing masks. I'm like, at this point, it's not about wearing the mask. It's about respecting other people. Because I don't want to wear a mask. I fucking hate wearing a mask in anywhere. I get mad when I go to Walmart. I'm like, fuck, I forgot my mask at home. Gotta go home and get that bitch. Because I respect other people. And that's what it's about, is respect. It's not, who cares who's fucking wearing a mask or not? And I see the people not wearing a mask. I'm like, you obviously do not respect. How can I be a friend with you and you don't respect me enough to wear a mask in public? That's sickening. And I go on this long tangent to say, don't get addicted to drugs. And whatever you do, don't let the door hit you on the way out. You know what I mean?
I hope you're doing well.
What? You're going to do this to me now? Look, I really just had the best... I can't stand this shit sometimes, man. Subscribe. Watch the other video. Yo, thanks for watching and listening.